Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to this panel which is going to address a very important topic related to the topic of our conference and it is about the curricular integration of GCED. This is of course a very important topic because if we want things to happen in the education system it can be because of some teachers that are interested and want to do something, but it's much more effective if it is done as part of the curriculum. And we have this morning in this panel 3 experiences from 3 different countries, from Laos, from Ghana and from Bhutan. And the panelists will share their experiences, their national experiences, but also their perspective on this topic, which I think will be relevant for any one of us, not just learning what's going on in different countries, but also going beyond it and understand the issues, the ways in which global citizenship education can be integrated in curricula and what is the result, what are the outcomes of this process. And we will proceed in the following way. We will have each panelist present for about 15 minutes. Then if there are immediate clarification questions, we'll allow a couple of minutes, a few minutes after each presentations to discuss that. But we'll have more time for discussions after we heard all the 3 presentations. So with this brief introduction, I will then start by introducing our first panelist, which is Dr. Anulak Vilafon, who is from Laos, who is the current Director General of the Research Institute in Educational Sciences of the Ministry of Education in Laos, where he had interesting background in the fields related to ecology. He studied first in Vietnam, then in Malaysia, where he got a master's degree, and then he has a PhD from Kyoto University in the field of ecology. Dr. Vilafon, you have the microphone to make your presentation based on the experience in Laos, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to highly appreciate it for FCU for inviting me to have a chance to share my knowledge and experience with highly distinguished guests today. And I hope that our little experience might help you to gain more knowledge on the global citizenship on education. Thank you. So I start. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I would like to share with you the curricular integration of global citizenship education, the experience from Laos PDR. And my topic is also aligned with the session. So today I would like to speak about the global citizenship education and curriculum development integration. Like Mr. Chairman mentioned that I'm working for the Research Institute for Educational Science, and my co-author is, she also present here to the conference as well, Ms. Thongdang Somchanmawong. She works for the External Cooperation Department. The global citizenship education development and integration for secondary education in Laos is the specific goal and deliverable for the project. And the key, the key strategy used to achieve the goal of the project, we identified that because the project we have to be implemented in 3 years in a row. Therefore, we start to, during the first year, we try to identify the key area for improvement and strategy development. And the second key, we try to develop the framework the framework of GCED for Laos in particularly, and the GCED to integrate into our civil education subject. And the third strategy that we would like to have the outcome, a final product of the teacher's manual for our country. In order to ensure that the activity are running in according to the time frame for the project implementation and have better coordination among our department within the ministry, we feel that the steering committee is necessary. Therefore, our minister have issued a board of steering committee, which lead by the deputy minister, and the board comprised of the first one is Department of General Education, Department of Teacher Education, Lao National Commission for UNESCO, which under the External Cooperation Department, National University of Laos, and of course the Research Institute for Educational Science that belong to. And then for the provincial levels, we also include the province and district education and sport bureau, school principal and teachers of the intervention province also included. Yes, the key step taken to carry out the project. During this period of time, I think is the most critical condition for Laos. I'm not sure whether your country are facing the same condition with us or not. Because of COVID-19 outbreak, therefore, most of the schools in our country were announced closure. Most of people do not allow to go out due to the outbreak. Therefore, we have to work from home, you know. But the connection sometimes doesn't allow to have better condition because of the coverage and the other reason. But anyway, we try to overcome that obstacle and decide to focus on the implementation of the project. During the first year for the project, we try to do a situation analysis to identify the key area for the strategy improvement in order to match between the GCED contents and our Laos CV content. And the second activity during the 2021 is we try to organize a capacity building workshop for the key stakeholder. This activity have been done and closely supported by FCU office, and normally, mostly we made it online. You know. And the third activity during the first year of the project is establishment of the curriculum development and board of the steering committee. And the board is like I have mentioned earlier. And during the second year of the implementation of the project, we focusing on develop of GCED framework for Laos, and we also focus on the GCED integrated into civic education curriculum and start to draft a first teacher's manual, and as well as some series of the development workshop are organized in parallel during this time. Yes, during the third year of the project implementation, after we got the draft, you know, the final draft for the teacher's guide for the GCED content, then we try to do a pilot testing. The pilot testing have been conducted in central part of our country, and it was conducted during the April this year. And after the first testing completed, we try to collect all the information, suggestion, recommendation for improvement. And after that, the second testing have been conducted in Vientiane province, and three more provinces were invited to join, like at Siêng Khong province to represent for the northern part of our country. Boli Kham Sai is represent for the central part, and Savannakhet represent for the southern part of the country. And the workshop have been conducted during July this year. And the final revision and validation of the teacher's manual have been made through the Committee for Approval of Curriculum and Instructional Material for the official approval. And the workshop and this one have been completed last month, actually. This is the GCED framework for our country that we have made during the 2022. And the second one is the GCED integration curriculum for our secondary school. And we break down into the teacher's manual, particularly for lower secondary school for this one. And this one is the GCED manual for the upper secondary school. Sorry. So what is the main takeaway or lesson learned from this improvement of the project? We discovered that GCED subject will help teachers and students to have a better understanding the condition of the country, community, and culture around the world. And it will also help the teachers and the students to learn to work together to create solutions that try to address local, national, and global challenges. And it also will help them to explore a question about democratic, justice, gender equity, governance, sustainability, and organization. The future plan for our country, after we have the approval for using the subject inside the country, at the moment we try to focusing on the printing of the material, because of I think the material, after the material complete, then we try to start using that material for teaching by next year. And then we are looking for further training of the trainer in order to support teacher training for provincial and district level inside the country. And then the last future plan that we are thinking at the moment, we try to discuss about how to bring the global citizenship education into teaching and learning for our primary curriculum. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have time for a few questions to clarify and to understand better the situation that was presented, the experience presented. So if there are questions, please raise your hand and a microphone will be given to you. We have a question there, please.
Thank you very much for describing the process. Can you talk about the different findings from the second pilot compared to your first pilot? Because I understand in your second pilot, you're going to many more regions, having to work with many more teachers, and I wonder if the findings were quite different from what you experienced in the first workshop in April. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Esther, for your very good question. That because the first testing that we try to do, the main objective is try to do an orientation among our developer to have the idea, in similar idea that we have in the textbook. And then after we doing the first try, we found that some room need to be improved, no? Especially for the how to raise some example to the student, or how to bring the total picture that we would like to have in the GCED content into the reality of our condition. Sometimes it's not so easy because of, like, you know, that our country, there are multiple ethnic diversity. In order to bring or to explain the issue, sometimes we have to include several methods. No, different province have to be apply different method for the understanding. That's why we, after the first try complete, then we try to invite for the province, for the northern and southern, to compare with the central one. Okay, do I answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to add a question from my side. Indeed, you described very well the process, which I think we can learn a lot from, and we'll get back to it. But I would like to know more about the content, and two levels. So first of all, it's an integration in the civic education curriculum. Could you explain more how it is done? So are we talking about 1 hour a week of civic education, and how much of it would be global citizenship education? How is it done? Is it connected to existing subject? Is it a module on that? How is it in the curriculum, the place of global citizenship education? And if you can say a few words also about the methods that are being recommended, if there are recommendations regarding the methods in the curriculum.
Yes, thank you, Russ. Actually, from the beginning, we try to analyze the situation among the content for the GCED and our local content. I think the content that we have in our local curriculum is almost the same as the GCED, but it not elaborate well enough like in GCED, and the arrangement of the content sometimes is go upward and other is go backwards something. That's why we try to arrange in according to the nine objective of the GCED, and we apply into, okay, in case if our local content have similar thing, and how to add that one for the teachers to explain into the actual timetable for them. Because in our country, for a semester, for 1 year semester, for 1 year study, we have altogether 36 weeks. But the GCED content we have to add. We have to add into that 1 hour per week. In case if we add into 1 hour per week, it might exceed the time that we have. That's why we have to reduce the content in the local textbook and add this one in order to elaborate the content more useful, like a GCED have.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I understand that you aim for a balance between the local focused content and the global aspects. Yeah, okay, thank you. Other questions to clarify the situation, the experience that we heard about in Laos? No? Okay, so, okay, we already got a lot of interesting points for the general discussion. Thank you very much. And we have a question, please go ahead.
I have seen that.
Go to the microphone, please.
Thank you so much for your presentation, sir. Actually, GCD is actually cross-cutting issue among the contents and subjects. Actually, what are the curriculum metrics and the concept mapping within the vertical and horizontal articulation? If you explain it, that it is better know for us. Thank you.
I'm not catch that the
Could you please repeat the
you
question? What exactly
yes,
do you want?
exactly, yes.
Actually, GCD is actually cross-cutting issue among the subjects and among the contents or concept mapping. Right, actually, I want to know about what are the curriculum metrics? 1, 2, 3, 4, that is horizontal articulation and the vertical articulation. And we better understand if you explain the horizontal and vertical articulation in the contents among the subjects and among the concepts.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, in order to match between two subjects, you know, we need a lot of assistance, the expert. We learn a lot from our neighboring country, especially from the Philippine curriculum. Yeah, we got a training course from them, and Esther also helped us, you know, to do a content elaboration in order to have this one integrate into the curriculum. Actually, it's not so easy, you know, for the content that can align in the same issue. But we try our best to, you know, what is the content in our existing curriculum, what is the GCED should be add in that curriculum. And then actually we haven't apply for the actual teaching yet, but only at the moment we have the teacher guide already, and we try to you know, to apply for a training course for the teachers for this particular subject in our country. And I think maybe later on, after a few years, we might draw an actual conclusion about this one. So I think at the moment it's quite early for answer that one. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much, and also for the question, because I think it's important. We will get back to this also after we hear the other presenters. Any other clarification questions? Okay, no. So then, thank you very much, Dr. Villafon. We are going to move now to another country, another continent, in fact, to Ghana, and we have Professor Edward Appiah, who is the current Director General of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment in the Ministry of Education of Ghana. He has an arts and design background. He studied this topic also in South Africa, and has worked in this field and had different positions in universities, in higher education, and he's now in charge of this very important topic of curriculum in Ghana. So, Professor Appiah, please, we would look forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, and good morning. And I'm here representing the Ghanaian contingent from two important agencies in Ghana that the ministry have tasked us to work on. And so we have those agencies here represented here. So you can wave, guys. Okay. I want to talk about our activity as far as the GCED is concerned. I will give a background discuss the best practices that has been done, and then I'll zero into the Ghanaian context. But first of all, let me say that the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment is one of the new agencies that came out of the reform in the ministry. We have been mandated by law to look at curriculum and assessment standards for the pre-tertiary. We don't look at the vocational and then the technical schools. We are basically on the other pre-tertiary. And so, like I said, we developed a review and we try as much as possible to look at assessment standards, and then we look at teaching and learning. Our mission is to develop curriculum that ensures Ghana's children are lifelong learners in the sense of national identity and global citizenship. And so we seek to do this by delivering a world-class curriculum for quality education for the Ghanaian child. Why are we talking about GCED? Now, if you look at the SDG 4.7, it's indicated that by the year 2030, we want to make sure that all learners acquire the knowledge and the skills that will help promote sustainable development. Beyond that, we also look at the sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture of peace, global citizenship, and these find space in GCED. And beyond that, you go to the 4.7.1, it's also mainstream GCED to the fact that global citizenship education and education for sustainable development, including gender equality and human rights, have been mainstream in 3 levels: the national, the curricular, the teacher education, and then the students' assessment. So let's look at the best practices in other parts of the world. Now, if you go to other countries that have mainstream GCED, you see areas in national policy level, you see them in curriculum, you see school level, and you see classroom level. And so South Korea is one of the countries that deals with the national level integration, Finland, UK, and Japan. India also looks at the classroom level. When it comes to curriculum level, we have 3 areas. We have the standalone, we have the integration, and then we have the cross-cutting, and I think that is what our brother talked about. Okay, so even in this level, we want to have standalone. An example is Canada that looks at GCED in a standalone. Integration also, we can talk about Kenya, South Korea, that have integrated GCED into their activities. And then you look at cross-cutting area where Finland comes as an example. Right. And you go to classroom level, we have various countries that are looking at GCED in a classroom. Examples, Japan, we have Kenya, Sri Lanka, and the rest. And then you go to school level also, where the timetable allocation and other things, as was being questioned, GCED have been put in. Some are even in community services and volunteer services, and all these are done to make sure that at least global citizenship education features prominently in our activity. Okay, so let's look at the Ghana's context. First of all, our mandate as curriculum agency is to make sure that Ghana's child or the children in Ghana have the same opportunity or better learning opportunities. Last year, we had this APSU conference on GCED, and we met the minister after the conference, and we said that it was said or mandated that NACA and IEPA, that is Institute of Education, Planning and Administration, which is in the University of Cape Coast, we are to handle this aspect of GCED. And so we took it upon ourselves to look at that context. Now it is not far from our mandate because we already have framework that are guiding our activities as an agency. And so we have two frameworks, curriculum framework and assessment framework, for which we felt that we could look at the competencies and mainstream GCED. And so what we did was look at the education sector plan, which is rolling out currently 2018 to 2030. That looks at transforming education in general, and it's captured 4.7.1, the SDG 4.7.1, and that looks at the extent to which global citizenship could be integrated national, curricular, teacher, and then student assessment level. So in our context, what we did was to look at the extent for this integration. The curriculum that we are running runs on these areas. First of all, we have the KG curriculum, we have the primary P1 to P6, we have the SHS, and we have the junior high school. And all these things put together, we have the philosophy, we look at the pedagogical approaches, we look at the formative assessment, the core competencies, attitudes, and values, and these are captured in the national curriculum. And so we wanted to see to what extent GCED could be integrated into it. Now, in summary, we look at the pedagogical approaches, we look at the core competencies, and we look at the values. And I must say that these are already captured in the curriculum that we have developed. So it was not too difficult for us to look at how we can align GCED into these activities that we have already captured. 3 subjects that we are running in Ghana actually looks at global citizenship in that context, even though we've not had the global citizen yet. When we're developing the curriculum, because we were looking at lifelong learning and how to make Ghanaian child a global citizenship, we have these and 3 areas. We have the languages, we have the social studies, and we have our world and our people. And if you look at the subject areas, all these areas that global citizenship featured were captured in these subjects already. And so for us, we felt that the integration could be done easily. And so what we decided to do was to see how to translate these GCED values into the instructions that we have done. We had to look at the teacher pedagogical skill development, and then we look at how GCED teaching and learning resources could also be developed. And then we also look at the role of models as far as GCED is concerned. How are the issues being addressed in our area? So as I indicated, NACA and IPA was taxed. So NACA has already developed our resource pack. We started this year on GCED to support the primary school teachers, particularly the primary 4 to 6, and we want to see how we can integrate GCED into the classroom activities. And then we look at the training of teachers, and we looked at the pilot implementation, and then once we are done, we can upskill and create the awareness that is needed. So together with IEPA, we conducted a GCED capacity building workshop for stakeholders in education. And as I've already indicated, this task was given to us by the Minister for Education. And so we look at the curriculum integration from 2022 to 2024. We look at it as a project. And this, in a way, is also going to support what other countries are doing. And I'm yearning to see the experience of Bhutan in this mainstreaming activity. So year 1, we did a situational analysis. And then this year, we started developing the resource pack on GCED to support the primary school teachers. And we look at the teachers and how integration is going to be done in the classroom activities. Now, IPA, which is also our partners in this development, had also developed the teacher manual I've conducted the capacity building workshop for the training officers. What is left to be done is the pilot implementation, which we hope to do that hopefully next year. So how are we going to do the integration? We are looking at the best practices. We are looking at mapping GCED concepts and values in our subject curriculum, which some of them we've already captured. We'll look at the entry points, and then we'll determine the framework as far as GCED is concerned. And then we'll look at the strategies for delivering this classroom activity. And then we develop teacher resource pack as far as the integration is concerned. So in brief, Ghana, through the representation of Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service, IAPA, UNESCO, Colleges of Education, and the basic schools, we did our stakeholder engagement, which was in May, and then the experts were put together, and then we did the drafting, and then we did the trial testing, and as I speak with you, the finalization has been done, hoping that in the coming year, 2024, we'll be able to see how the piloting can be done. Then after that, we can probably look at the upscale of GCED into the main curriculum nationwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Another interesting presentation. Is there something that you would like to ask to clarify the aspects that were presented? Specifically about the situation and the process that was described in Ghana? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, and thanks a lot for the efforts. We would want to learn more from such efforts. My question is on assessment. It's always the big elephant in the room. When you do all that, if you come up with assessment frameworks, or we're still relying on exam-driven curricula so that our pedagogies don't go to waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As indicated, we have developed a new assessment framework, and we are now looking at assessment for learning, of learning, and as learning. We've moved away from exams-driven assessment. Of course, you know, in education, talking of curriculum, instructions, and assessment. Unfortunately, assessment drives these, and so if you don't structure the assessment very well, even your instructional materials or your instructions will do that. So what we have done in our new assessment framework is to look at formative assessment as a key, where in the classroom activity, we still want to assess the processes. And it's not about exams or at the end of the day. We are even looking at peer assessment. So in the classroom setting, we are looking at how formatively the children can learn and then assess along the line. And that is the new framework that we have developed. And we are going to factor GCED into that. And like I said already, we have these activities structured in our subjects. And so with the new assessment framework, that is the way GCED is also going to be assessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another question.
Thank you so much. I have also the questions related to the student assessment also, aligning with my previous colleagues. He is asking to this. Basically, you have mentioned about there are altogether 6 core competencies which will be assessed in your framework. So can you tell us, share us your best practices, how you assess these core competencies, including cultural identity, critical thinking, like this? So the strategies or techniques or ideas, if you are sharing to us, that will be fruitful for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. As indicated earlier, we are looking more for formative assessment. And we are also looking at multiple assessment strategies. Projects are even involved. In the presentation, we were looking at even community level of assessment, where we expect that children will be assessed based upon the projects that have been given to them. And so we are looking at how does the child, if it comes to collaborative activity, how is the child collaborating with one another in the classroom activity? We are looking at empathy, creativity. All these are formative activities that we want to see along the line. And so we don't expect to have different form of assessment for GCED, especially since it's going to be an integrated approach. The same issues that we are looking at in GCED, we want to assess them collaboratively and look at the formative. Even if it's a project that teacher gives, we want to see how the project maps up these 6 areas of assessment. And then at the end of the lesson or at the end of the project, we map out these assessment areas. Of course, we'll have to look at the weighting so that it's not going to be exams driven or exam centered. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. It's time now to move to our third presenter, who is coming from Bhutan. Mr. Amber Rai is in charge of the curriculum for secondary education in Bhutan. He has a background as a teacher, which is extremely important, valuable for someone who is in charge of developing a national curriculum. He has also studied in Canada. He has a master's degree from New Brunswick University in Canada. And after his study, he was put in charge of managing the curriculum at the secondary level in Bhutan. So, Mr. Rai, you have the floor. Thank you.
I have the permission from the organizer and the technical personnel here to present standing, but I overlooked to take the permission from the moderator. Sir, may I? Yes, thank you. This is the Dzongkha equivalent of Annyeonghaseyo in Korean. Did I say it correctly? The la, by the way, is optional. It is used to show respect and reverence for elderly. So you can say Kuzangpo. So I'm saying Kuzangpo la. So if you add the suffix la, you can rarely go wrong. Yes la, no la, everything la, nothing la. So I'm asked to talk about the specific details of how we went about the integration of GCED into our curricula. But before that, just a brief deliverables on the project in Bhutan. If you have any questions on these deliverables, we have our project manager sitting here in the audience. Just fast capacity building, of course, of the immediate stakeholders. Develop GCED curriculum framework, like other countries. Develop the implementation guide. This is a general guide for all the subjects, plus subject-specific guide with exemplars, and implement in the pilot schools. By the way, if I do not have in the slide, we have 15 pilot schools in 5 districts. We call Dzongkhas in our country. So we have chosen 5 districts, and within the 5 districts, we have 15 schools to pilot. So these are the key strategies used to achieve the goals of the project. Not all the components of the project, but for the framework and integration guide. What did we do? First, of course, and obviously, we referred the international resources and practices, mostly the FCU publications, teacher training materials, training manuals, and there's one by Oxfam called GCED in the Classroom. That was extensively used. And we did the curriculum mapping, as in the case of Ghana. Capacity building workshop for teachers, principals, and the DOs of those chosen pilot schools. And the DOs means the district education officers of the 5 districts. So who are the key stakeholders in our integration guide? Obviously, the curriculum developers in the division of, in the school curriculum division. We have the training developers in the education ministry, and we have the education monitoring officers. So if these education monitors they are mandated to supervise and monitor the schools. So if they do not know about GCED, then they won't be doing their job. So again, district education officers, the principals, teachers. Look at the teacher, how he is spelling teachers. And we have missed a few stakeholders here, obviously, but I think I will come to that later on in our challenges. And obviously, you can guess whom did we miss. In the challenges we will come. Steps taken for integration. First, we formed an advisory board consisting of the education secretary, the directors and the director generals of departments within the ministry. And then we established a working committee, or what they call the task force, because they do the donkey's work. And we selected or chose the subjects and the grades. In which subjects is it most apt to integrate? First for piloting, and which grades do we integrate GCED? Identify pilot schools. For this, we had to consider the geographical representations, the locations, the south, schools from the south, or the west, or the central west, or the central south. And select focal persons. We had to be very careful what type of teachers do we select, what type of competencies, what level of competencies do they have? Will they be able to do the justice that will they be accountable for the role they will be playing as school focal persons? And the biggest step, the most important step, is mapping of competencies and learning objectives of each subject vis-a-vis GCED themes, competencies, learner attributes, and topics. That's the major activity that we undertook before the integration. We will come to this bullet point in detail. I'll give you an example. And of course, we formed the review committee to review the integration guide that we developed. Okay, for example, so mapping process, this is what we did. So mapping process against objectives. These are against objectives of the specific subject. So this is, here I have taken an example of English because I am responsible for the English curriculum and I can talk with more confidence and with authority. We first took the domains and the learner attribute under each domain. So by the way, these 3 domains, These 3 domains, the cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral, we call them the education of the 3 H's. Education of the head, education of the heart, and the education of the hand. So if you look at the objectives here, these objectives had not been twisted and adjusted to meet our needs here, but these had been there since a decade back. Read text to interpret significant ideas, events, themes, and characters, number one. Number two says, use strategies like comparison and contrast to develop their responses to the literature they read, the text. Refer to relevant ideas and information in the text to support their explanations. Let's skip 4 and 5. Read text to compare and contrast themselves and their ideas with the people and their people and ideas encountered in literature. So how do this? These are direct objectives taken from the English curriculum framework for class 7. So if you see carefully, we can draw parallels, similarities between the learner attributes of GCED domains and the learning objectives of English. For example, in other subjects also did the same. By the way, we have integrated in 5 different subjects from kindergarten to class 8. We call key stage 3. Key stage 3. 5 subjects are English, social studies, values education, health and physical education. Did I miss any? English, social studies, health and physical education, arts. Arts include performing arts and values education. So another step was to map text against themes. So what text do we have in each grade? And what contents do the text have to fulfill the themes? For example, in class 7 we have, for example, I've taken this just example randomly. We have short stories like a title called The Girl Who Couldn't See Herself, To My Son, Somebody's Son, Starfish, One Day a Stranger Came. So these stories contain themes and issues that are related to our GCED topics and themes. Do I have time? No, I don't have time, so I should rush. So this is the detail of how we went about in mapping, curriculum mapping. So achieved outcomes, of course, content mapping, GCED competencies, learner attributes, we did that. We developed the contextualized GCED framework, which is ready, and our project manager will be submitting to the technical committee, I think tomorrow. We also carried out capacity development workshop for the stakeholders, namely DOs, principals, and the teachers. And this capacity development experts from FCU, and I also see Professor Kerr here. She was also one of them. And develop the implementation guide. This implementation guide is general. We develop the integration guide, subject-wise, with exemplars for teachers in the 5 subjects. So here, okay, implementation model now. How do we implement GCED? We finished integrating in the curricula. How do we implement? So we have chosen this team model, TEAM, team model, to integrate, to teach and assess GCED. So what does it stand for? T is teaching and education. A is application, mostly by the learners. Having taught, how do they apply? And modeling, mostly by the teachers and other stakeholders. By TE, we mean explicit instructional lessons and teaching learning experiences in the classroom, activities, programs, and clubs, integration into instructional curricula, other existing school programs and clubs. So how do we teach GCED competencies and themes to the learners? And how would they apply? What evidences do we have that they have acquired those competencies? What kind of school policies and culture exist where the learners can demonstrate? What are the classroom activities? What programs does the school have? what kind of atmosphere do the schools and home have, where the learners can apply and demonstrate the acquisition of those competencies. And modeling, of course, modeling by the teachers first. How do the teachers model what they teach? And we are saying it should be ideally whole school approach, not just by one teacher or a group of teachers. It should be a whole school approach. And how do the school parent or teacher parent programs, what programs does the school have to invite or involve parents and guardians, and multi-sectoral collaborations? How would the local government agencies contribute? How do other stakeholders contribute or supplement and complement what the children learn in the school? I'm aware of the time, sorry. Okay, in the integration guide, we have this GCED competencies, themes, topics. What are the topics? GCED topics plus the topics of the subject, specific subject, and objectives. If the topics are not adequately capturing the GCED themes, can we tweak the topic of the subjects so that it adequately adheres, or so that those topics can adequately address the need of the GCED? And objectives, of course. GCED assessment through themes, through team model again. How do we assess? So understanding of GCED knowledge, concept and values, application and modeling, assessment type, we call alternative assessment. We have task, tools and techniques. These are all given in the teacher guide and also in the framework. So formative assessment, also following the team model. What lessons do we have we learned? There's the feasibility of integrating GCED in other subjects and other learning experiences. It's not only relevant, it's appropriate and timely that we should be upscaling the integration of GCED. Teacher capacity, we need to upgrade teacher capacity. We need to provide TOTs. Sorry. Can I take 1 minute more? Okay. Need to align curriculum and learning experience to better address GCED learner attributes and goals. And means as crucial as the end. The process or the processes we follow to integrate GCED is as crucial as our vision, the end. And in situ PDs work more effectively. Rather than calling all the stakeholders, teachers in one venue and providing the PDs is good, but it's better to give the PDs in the site, on the schools, where they work. And what is not there is, we should have done this long time ago. Challenges, of course, human and material resources, both in quality and quantity. That's obvious, we lack challenges. And coordination here, as I was saying, we try to bring in the NGOs and, and the civic societies, but coordination was very difficult. When we had time, they didn't have, they were engaged. So those stakeholders were missing, the NGOs and the CSOs. And time. Time not only for us, but also for the other stakeholders, especially the teachers. So future plans, improve on the integration guide and examples, of course. Implement in pilot schools from next year. Capacity development school staff for implementation and whole school approach of team model. So this, I think I cannot stress enough the importance of this, the whole school approach. Expand to other subjects and for higher grades as well. And translate GCED materials and documents into our national language. So that we can involve the non-formal centers. We have NFEs, non-formal education centers. So they largely follow Zonka. So if we translate these materials into Zonka, the NFA instructors can easily take them to the rural villages. And of course, create a repository and share the best practices.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Rai. And yes, it was a captivating and very interesting presentation of a very ambitious experience that you have in Bhutan. I would like to ask if there are very important questions about this experience. If not, yes, one. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for the experiences shared by Bhutan team. Regarding to the GCED implementation, you have mentioned about the multi-sectoral collaboration for its implementation. But in your challenges part, you have mentioned about the coordination is the quite challenging to implement GCED curriculum. So in this sense, while how you face the challenge to coordinate to each others and then maintain the multi-sectoral collaboration for its effective implementation, what are the techniques you have applied to implement GCED curriculum with the multi-sectoral collaboration? Please share.
Thank you, sir, from Nepal. That was the challenge, that's why we have not carried out. In short, we try to rope in their support, because like we have the NGOs, we have the non-governmental organizations, we have the civic societies, we have a few, but they are quite dynamic. One called the READ, we have Rural Empowerment and Development, READ. A small NGO, but quite successful and dynamic. And they have only one office in the whole country, in Thimphu. And they have 3 centers, one in Sarbang district, one in Zemgang district, and 2 in Semgang district. They work in rural areas. So we thought if we had their support, if we can rope in them, if we can make them participate in this exercise, they will be taking to the adult learners, non-formal learners. So but they were away. So we were not able to invite them. We invited them, but they were not able to attend. So that was the challenge. But whereas other coordinators, like we leave it to for example, the local government agencies, like we call in the blocks, local government, we call blocks we call geogs. That is the lowest form of local government, blocks. So we ask the school level, the school administrators, that is the principals and the focal persons, to explore ways how they can involve the local administrators. That is the heads, the block heads, mandal. So that will be my response, if it's okay.
Yes, okay. We have 3 more questions about this, but please
do
keep
not
it
ask
brief
difficult
so that
questions.
Yes. Okay, the microphone here, please. Yeah.
Yes, good morning. My question is, how can you empower teachers who continually promote GCED to be embedded into your national educational policy? So how can you empower teachers to continuously promote GCED into your country? Thank you.
I think there would be multiple ways to empower teachers who are doing exceptionally well, as you mentioned. Incentivizing is one of the ways, but that is not the only way. One of the ways is so ask them to be agents of change. Explore ways how they can influence others, so they feel self-empowered. We don't have to empower them. They will be self-empowered, and a self-empowered person is a very strong person. And through their determination and empowerment, they will grow, not only professionally, but personally as well. So that would be my response.
Thank you. The other questions here in front, I think. And please, if there are questions that are general, keep them for the general discussion. Oh, okay, we have, okay.
Okay, thank you. In your model, TEAM, you are this here. There is what we call application by students and also modeling by teachers. Do you think in the model it is indicating a sequence or not a sequence? Because whether we are questioning whether modeling first or application first. Application by students first or modeling by teachers first? Thank you.
Sir. Thank you for your question. It's very kind of practical question. So I don't think it goes linear. It's iterative. Or, yeah, by nature itself, like once we've complete that, teaching and educating, then we ask, after we teach a concept or a competency in the instructional hour or outside, within the instructional hours or outside, teach a concept, educate them, and hope they have acquired that competency or concept, and check, provide opportunities for them to apply. That seems to be the next step. And how do the teachers or any other elder model the concept or the competency taught? And what conditions or ambience do we provide where the children or the learners can apply those concepts or those competencies? So if you do not find any evidence, then what is the next step? Obviously, go back to teaching and educating. So it's iterative, sir.
Thank you. And finally, here in front.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really admire your passion for your work, and I'm excited about the intentionality you are demonstrating in reaching out to those who may not be in formal education, but translating the document into the language. I'm forgotten, I can't pronounce it, but you said a national language. I think that is very impressive. Now, it may be too early a question, but I'll still ask, how do you intend to assess the impact of those who may be having access to it outside the school system? So you go to a community, kids who have read it outside the classroom. How do you plan to assess the impact?
Oh, thank you for your question, sir. It reminds us that we have forgotten to think about it. I think, no, now, as I already mentioned, we were not able to, we invited them, but the people from the non-formal education, by the way, it's institutionalized in our country, non-formal centers. These are for those people who skipped or missed the bus or the train for mainstream education. These are usually adults. So in our maybe next round, we ask these NFE centers, the instructors, or we have the program heads in the education division. We have the non-formal education program officers. So maybe we'll now, thank you for reminding us, we'll now ask them to explore how we assess. Thank you, sir.
If I may, I think the question also referred to how do you assess the adaptation part, you know,
Yes.
the part that is asking students to apply. Can you share about that?
On the same non-formal education. So, yes, sir. So, thank you again for reminding us. Frankly, we have that it skipped our mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we had 3 very interesting presentations. We can now have a general discussion. You are invited to ask questions to any of the speakers, but also comment on general shared aspects that were mentioned by various panelists. I would like to start with a few general comments. From my perspective, I noticed some things that may be of general interest for all of us. I noticed first similarities in terms of the process that was described. Of course, this is related to the context of the projects that were implemented in these countries, but I think as such, as a structure of the process, it's something very important to point out. It's a process in all the cases in which the lead was by the ministries of education, by national authorities. It was not a process in which some international consultant or international organization came and did a study and said, well, this is the curriculum we should use. It was a process developed from within the system, with stakeholders involved from the system. And I think that's a very important point to underline. Then it was a multi-stakeholder approach in all the cases. And I think that's also significant. In all cases, I noticed that it started with a mapping of the existing situation in the curriculum and making sure that global citizenship education is not something that is added on top of something, but is embedded in what is in the curriculum, and making sure that this is related not just to knowledge, but also you mentioned the other aspects that are very important, like attitudes and values and skills. I also noticed that we had some differences in terms of the types of integration in one specific subject, in several subjects, also in connection with out-of-school activities in some cases. And I also noticed a common concern for adapting the proposed revision of the curriculum to the reality, not just to the national curriculum, but to the reality. You mentioned the regional adaptations or the piloting in the different regions, considering the rural context, considering minorities. So I think this is also an important general point to take into account. And indeed, the fact that it was not something designed in a ministry office, even following a meeting with different stakeholders, but something that was tested in an approach in different steps in some cases, and then learning from these experiences. And we saw in all cases that it was a learning experience and a process of development which opened up different possibilities, and also which identified some challenges. So not everything was done in all these cases. There are a lot of things that can be added, but it's an interesting process. And to conclude my general comments, I would like to point out something that I think is very powerful. What I noticed from your presentations is that by doing this, by trying to have projects that integrate global citizenship education, it's not only for the benefit of global citizenship education, but I think it seems to be for the benefit of the quality of education in general. Because what you are doing is improving curricula in general, but also giving an example of curriculum development based on a participatory approach, and improving assessment, as you, or at least stimulating the reflection on improving assessment in general. As you said, you cannot just assess this, you have to think more generally, and improving the way that different subjects are being delivered in the school, and sometimes also improving the school as a whole. So really, I think that's an interesting point that should be considered by all those who may consider having such a similar experience. So in light of these ideas and what has been shared, I open the discussion. If you have comments or questions, including those who have been involved in these projects but are not on the stage here, and others who had similar experiences. So, who wants to start? Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Let me ask the two other countries apart from Ghana. They mentioned doing trialing or piloting in some schools, and they intend to roll it out nationally. In doing the piloting, the selection of schools, did they include any private schools, or it was all public schools? And if both, were there any similarities or differences they realized between public schools and private schools? And in rolling out nationally, are they focusing on only public schools or both private and public? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, well, let's collect another question from the back, and then we'll ask you to comment.
Thank you very much to the three countries for their very comprehensive presentation. I would like to know from them that after this implementation, they has to scale up it at the national level. So how they will do that, what could be the initiative for scaling up, if they shared, that could be a better learning for us as well, for future.
Thank you. Let's discuss about these two issues. So what kinds of schools were involved in the piloting, if there were different approaches or different responses from them, and what are the plans for scaling up? Who wants to start? Yes, please.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond first. The question about whether private schools were consulted, or in our case, it's just the public schools, government schools, because we have a handful of private schools in Bhutan. And that also from, I think, if almost all from grade 10 up, class 10 up, 10, 11, 12. And it will be interesting to note that for class 11 and 12, private schools are only for those students who do not secure enough mark to get government scholarships. So for now, we are left to work only with the government schools, because we are working just for key stages 3, from kindergarten to class 8. So for that reason, it's only the government schools that have been consulted. And the next question about scaling up to incorporate in the higher grades, that would depend on the success rate of the pilot schools. I'm saying success rate and not failure rate, because we are definitely going to succeed. That's our commitment. So that will depend on the extent of success that we achieve. And I think I would also mention this, since our project manager is here, we will, in the pilot schools, despite the support, supervision and support we provide, and of course a little bit of impact study. What kind of upskilling, what kind of strategies, additional strategies or additional steps to be taken before we upscale to other grades and higher grades and other subjects.
Thank you. Dr. Apia, do you want to respond?
I'll look at the upscaling. As I indicated, we are going to do this hopefully next year. We will start with the P4. But for Ghana, we even have a very good advantage of moving to the basic 7, 8, and 9, because the minister, we started rolling out the new curriculum 3 years ago, and the minister wants us to look back and see how best we can review in line with the secondary education that we are doing. And in that discussion, we discovered that, one of the good things with Ghana is the fact that global citizenship, as we see, is part of the citizenship education that we already have. I remember when last year, ABSU program, and I was talking with the group, I said that the moment we institutionalize schooling, we more or less missed out some of the things, especially in Ghana, because for us, global citizenship is part of us. I mean, if a child is born, the community makes sure that the child is trained to fit into the society. And therefore, it's an ingrain in developing our curriculum. It's an ingrain. And so we think that scaling up in these classrooms, P4 and even GHS, it's more or less trying to align with what we already have. And it's not going to be capped as this is global citizenship, but we are looking at the advantage we have in our own cultural settings, so that at the end of the day, the child does not see himself or herself as an isolated person in Ghana only, but he sees himself or herself globally. And that is what we are trying to do. We want to roll it gradually. We want to look at the basics 7, 8, and 9, how the integration will map up in these areas so that it becomes a smooth integration, and it's not going to be like, oh, this is something coming from different regions, but it is part of our own cultural settings.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very important point that you make of general interest. Yes, please, Professor.
Yes. So I would like to address for the first question. The trial that we have been conducted just only for the public, for the school rather than the private one, because at the moment we try to focus on not only for the school located in the city, but we focusing on the school in remote area instead of the private sector one, because the condition of the private sector, I think they are quite have well equipped with the infrastructure or the others, That's why at the moment we only starting with the government school only. Yes, for the first question. And the second question, the scale up, I think I'm fully support with the colleague from Bhutan mentioned about the evidence. After we are using this curriculum, and then we should waiting for some certain time for assessment, and the assessment would be the good evidence in order to inform our government for upscale support or implement. Because like at the moment we haven't implement the curriculum yet. Only we got the approval from the government to use. I think by next year we try to conduct with the intervention provinces, and after that, when we got the result from the assessment, then we might thinking for the future upscale. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Other comments or questions, please? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you again. These plans, that we have all rolled out look very good. And I am interested in our sustainability plan. So beyond 2024, what is the plan? Especially financial sustainability. When it ends in 2024 and APSEU does not provide support beyond 2024, what is our plan?
Yeah, maybe we start in a different order. Who of you wants to start? Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, colleague. It's really difficult question, to address actually. Yeah, I think at the moment we got the support, financial support from FCU, and in the future we are thinking, to the first one, how to manage in a sustainable basis for implementing of the GCED curriculum integrated into our. I think it's not easy because like in our country, especially Laos, we have more than 4,000 schools inside the country that we need to use the curriculum. And then at the moment, even though we have the curriculum, but the curriculum haven't printed yet to supply for that school. And then we have to looking for other source of the budget to do this one. And then not only for the printing material, we also need for the further training for the teachers who haven't done yet, who haven't passed through the training of previous intervention yet. That's why we are thinking to, first from the government budget, or we might ask for other international donor agency who would like to support activity, or who would like to bring this activity into their support of the target project. Yes, I think from
thank you.
Laos.
Thank you very much. As I indicated in our presentation, for us, we were looking at the mapping, what we already have, and emphasize. But I will have to probably thank APSU for reminding us of these which we already have, and drawing our attention to the fact that these need to be emphasized. And so, going forward, all that we need to do is to emphasize the trainings. Thankfully, the ministry have started leadership training, and IEPA is spearheading that. We just have to make sure that the leaders or the leadership their minds are drawn to the fact that the curriculum that we've developed have these things in. We already have, even the secondary education that we hope to roll out next year has gender equality, social inclusion, which are all part of global citizenship, and we also have them in. And so it's a matter of, in our training, the leaders need to be aware of the fact that these areas are things that we are trying to emphasize. I think we also have what we call professional development activities, where teachers meet every week to look at what is in the curriculum or what they have done during the week, and try to look at challenges. And we think that this is an area that we probably have to look at the CBDs, that the teachers in their training will be dwelling on and re-emphasizing, so that it's not about just a project for APSU, but like I said, it is something that our curriculum is looking at: civic education, moral education. We want to model these things with our leaders. I remember in our stakeholder engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee, we were talking about the fact that this curriculum now needs to shape our moral fiber, change our attitude, and they are supposed to lead. So if we push the agenda of leaders modeling, we think that it will be sustained along the line. It's not going to be something like, APSU brought it and we don't have funding. Some of these things I don't think we need funding to emphasize. We already captured them there. We need to emphasize that.
Thank you. And if you want a brief answer, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, let's all hope and pray that FCU continues to provide us assistance as long as we are able to meet the goals. But if such situation come to pass where we have no one to depend on, I'm confident that for in Bhutan, because number and size is works to our advantage at times. We have just a few hundred schools and few thousand teachers. And as yesterday alluded by Professor Esther here, our not only educational development, but all the spheres of development in the country is governed or guided by the principles of gross national happiness, propounded by His Majesty the Fourth King in the early 70s. And the first democratically elected government in 2008, the government undertook educating for GNH, gross national happiness. And that framework is guided by the pillars and domains of gross national happiness. If you Google pillars and domains of gross national happiness, you will see the details. And there you can draw parallels, almost similar parallels to the principles and themes of GCED. So our education draws inspiration from the gross national happiness domains. So, but it's easier said than done. In the schools, there is a lot of gap between the intention of the curriculum and the implementation. And our efforts are directed towards narrowing the gap between the intention and the implementation. What I mean is that if we are able to increase or uplift the competencies of our teachers, then we have already integrated in the curriculum. Now, like grade 4, PP2, kindergarten to 8, similarly, we can integrate. We just need some labor there, integrate, and make it more focused for the implementation part. We have the objectives, we have the competencies, but what we are lacking is the targeted focus directed towards the achievement of those competencies and goals. So I would safely say that it will not be too much of a trouble for us in our case.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the time for our session is up. I will just want to make a final comment, and that would be related to what you shared first, that if we want to have sustainability, I think that is connected also with the fact that these are processes that are part of the Ministry of Education policies, and I think this is the main driver for sustainability. Of course, additional support is very useful, very important. But I also think we learned from these experiences that making curriculum reviews is not working just in the curriculum. It's not about just changing some documents, adding some keywords, or putting some additional aspects in it, but it's a whole package that involves not just curriculum development, but also the connection with the practice, which involves teachers' guides, teacher training and support in the school and in the application on the long term, if we want the curriculum to be really implemented and effective. So I think these are some very useful lessons we learned from the presenters. Thank you very much for your contributions, and thank you for the questions.